Hello everyone, this is just another update on the recent Soyuz launch failure. Now this was just 2 days ago, so news are now coming in more or less daily, but the actual reason behind the failure seems now mostly resolved, and the spaceport did actually matter in this. Now it's not Vostochnny itself that caused a problem, however this was the first launch of a frigate upper stage from Vostochnny. And as I already explained, the frigate upper stage had a navigation issue which caused the launch failure. And the new launch site seems to be the reason of that navigational error, because the frigate has a separate navigational system from the main rocket. And that navigational system, while other means are available, is first off a inertial navigation unit. And I should probably make a later video explaining inertial navigation in detail and all the different techniques you can use to make it more precise. But the basic principle is that you measure the rocket's movements and you start with your starting location in a virtual coordinate system. You know where the rocket starts, and then you measure its movements, and so you know its flight path, and you essentially put that flight path onto that starting point, and then you know where you currently are. Which of course means that if you get the starting point wrong, even if everything else goes perfectly well, you'll get a wrong result. And in this case, while the Soyuz itself got the correct launch path from Vostochnny, the frigate did not get the correct update. The frigate upper stage still thought that the launch was from another spaceport, and so it got the navigation wrong. It measured the rocket's movements correctly, and then added these movements onto the wrong starting point, and thus got the current position wrong as well, by the same distance that it got the starting point wrong. Which is of course a programming error, because there's no way for the frigate to actually find out where it is at the start. It's just told, you are launching from this spaceport, now measure your movements and then extrapolate where you must be now. So while the Soyuz rocket itself launched the frigate onto an almost perfect flight path, the frigate misnavigated and thought that this flight path was way more off than it actually was. It calculated its first correction burn based on this false information, and thus accidentally deorbited itself, got out of communications range, which was actually scheduled. Of course, you only have a limited communications range, you only have that many ground stations, and satellite launches do sometimes scheduled get out of communications range. They continue on autonomously and get back into communication range later, but in this case, since it wrongly accidentally disorbited itself, it never got back into communication range, it just fell back into the Atlantic. Where precisely that happened is a bit complicated to calculate, because we never had communication again, so essentially you'd have to simulate resimulate the whole flight in a computer simulation, find out what the frigate must have thought based on its false information, then emulate the frigate's board computer, calculate its wrong correction burn, and then simulate where it would come down, but it definitely re-entered, mostly burned up over the Atlantic. So it's still not a spaceport issue. It's also not really a frigate issue, it's more of a combination issue. They didn't properly update the frigate software, they didn't tell the frigate that they were launching from a new spaceport. So while this is definitely annoying and expensive, no one actually got hurt, so I think it's mostly a great learning opportunity. Space is hard, shit happens. Now, still not every detail is known about this launch failure, and we can still expect Roscosmos to release more information. However, the main cause of the failure is now publicly known, and so most of the questions seem to be resolved. I hope you enjoyed this short update on what caused the Soyuz launch failure 2 days ago, and as always, thanks for watching.